As humans, we need to understand our history in order to really know where we are and where we're going. We tend to think that everything began about 3800 BC in Sumeria, and before that, we were nothing but hairy barbarians. But in truth, there's a 500 million year history on this planet of civilizations so far beyond where we are today that we can't even imagine. And they've come here and they've combined with other life forms, creating whole new life forms. And at a certain point in the process, they've all left. And each one of these life forms has gone through 5 different levels of consciousness. Right now, we're on the second of those 5 levels. Well, we, meaning Homo sapiens, have been around for a little over 200,000 years, roughly 200,200 and change, 200,225, somewhere around there. And for about 70,000 years, we were on Lemuria. It sank, and when it did, we then moved to Atlantis, the new continent that rose in the Atlantic at the same time Lemuria was sinking. We were there for about 50,000 years. 16,000 years ago on Atlantis, we violated galactic law, and we did it big time. We created an energy field. I have to keep it simple here. I can give the full description. In fact, I do in my book. Nothing in this book is true, but it's exactly how things are. But in this short video, I can only tell you that we created an energy field that went totally out of control, a very powerful energy field. It started ripping open lower dimensional levels, and as a result of that, Atlantis just started going crazy. What it meant was that beings from a different aspect of the Earth who didn't want to be here, but all of a sudden found themselves in a strange new world, they started going into the bodies of the Atlanteans. And rapidly, very rapidly, Atlantis just started going downhill. So in order to explain that in a bit more detail, I need to lay a little bit of groundwork here. The first thing I want to talk about is dimensions. We need to understand that there's many worlds here, and in fact, they're passing right through the very room in which you're sitting. They're all interconnected, and they are separated by wavelength. Separated by wavelength in exactly the same way as notes are separated on the musical scale. So where we are right now is on the 3rd dimension. Where we were in Atlantis, and prior to that in Lemuria, was fluctuating between the higher overtones of the 4th dimension to as high as the 6th dimension. So we were on a much, much higher level of awareness back in those days than we are right now. 16,000 years ago, we violated galactic law, and we were at this point in the precession of the equinoxes. Well, 3,000 years later, when we reached the point where, right on the button, where black goes to white, i.e. tremendous change happens, we fell. We fell from a very, very high level of awareness down to this dark, dense aspect, this 3rd dimensional aspect of the reality. At the time, we were on the 1st level of consciousness. And I just need to take a moment to explain this, that in fact there are 5 levels of consciousness that we need to understand. They're a different height range, there's a different number of chromosomes, there's a different way of interpreting the reality. They're quite different. The 1st level of consciousness, where we were in Atlantis and prior to that in Lemuria, we were shorter. The height range is roughly between 4 to 6 feet. There's 42 plus 2 chromosomes, and we had a very interesting way of accessing memory. It's through what the Aboriginals call dream time. The Aboriginals, by the way, are 1st level of consciousness. They're still there. They have not mutated like we have. So for an Aboriginal, they have this thing called dream time, meaning they could come into this room, for example, and holographically at any point in the future recreate for any other interested Aboriginal exactly what we're doing in here. They could step into the hologram, they could walk around, they could watch this video as it's happening, and in that way they could share with 100% recall with anyone else that is on their level of consciousness at any point in the future. Okay, now there's the second level of consciousness, and that's where we are right now. The second level, height range between 5 to 7 feet, 44 plus 2 chromosomes, and we don't have anything remotely resembling dream time as in terms of accessing memory. Well, then there's the third level of consciousness. The third level has a height range of between 10 to 16 feet, 46 plus 2 chromosomes, and their access of memory is an even upgraded form from the first level. Because if a being from the third level remembers anything, it's not dream time or a hologram, it's the real thing. In other words, they are instantly manifesting the reality. Whatever they think instantly becomes the reality. It could be past, present, or future, and they are there experiencing the real thing. Now, I'm not going to cover the fourth and the fifth because that's way, way beyond what we need to know right now. But the first and the third level are differing forms of unity consciousness, the third being an upgraded form from the first. The second, where we are right now, is not in unity at all. We're in a separate state. And the interesting aspect of this is, though, life has never figured out how to go directly from the first to the third level without using the stepping stone of the second level. But the thing is, you need to get on and off the second level as quickly as possible because we're disharmonic. Given enough time, we will destroy our world. In fact, we've almost done that. So now, to get to the point here, we were on the first level of consciousness in Atlantis. And because of our destructive nature, creating this out-of-control energy field that almost destroyed the Earth, the plan that was given from higher life forms to the Ascended Masters was very simple. If they could get us from the first level to the third level of consciousness, our enhanced awareness alone would be sufficient to solve the problems from Atlantis. And that is, in essence, what we're experiencing right now. We are very much as a planet in the stages of moving from the third dimension back into the higher overtones of the fourth dimension, and in the process of doing that, moving from the second level into the third level of consciousness. Okay, what I've given you barely scratches the surface, just a very superficial understanding. It would really take at least an hour to fully explain this, and in a 5-minute video we don't have the time. It is, however, fully explained in my book, Nothing in This Book is True, so I'd recommend you reference that if you want to get the full understanding of what we're talking about here.